Hello and welcome to Studio C in beautiful West Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. In this video on GameMaker quick tips, we're going to talk about paths. Now what paths are ways that you can control your bad guys. And I have two fish that are traveling in my window right now, but what you might not understand is they're actually both following the same path. So I've drawn a shape that they are following, and they are both following that same path. You can see once in a while that they kind of follow the similar pattern. Paths are a really cool way to get your bad guys to do kind of non-traditional things. They can be used for maze games where you can do perfectly rectangular square paths, or you can do kind of random things, and you can play with speed and multiple paths and change paths, and it's a really cool little way you can make your game a little bit more complex looking from the user side without you having to do a lot more code. So let's get started. Alright, so I made a small room. I have an object with a fish sprite, and I just made it a little white so it stood out quite on the background. So let me talk about how this is. So the path is basically a shape you want this character to follow, and it's actually really easy to use once you understand the interface. So you're going to go over to right click where it says paths and create path, and it's going to open up this window. Now there's a couple of things you want to know right away. First of all, you want to know, do you want your path to be straight or do you want it to be curved? And I'll show you the differences. So basically all you end up doing is you click around, and when you first do this, even though there's a tendency to kind of click over, don't go too crazy. You don't actually have to make your paths really complicated. You can, but you don't have to. And so I just click a few things like this, and then what I usually do is, unless I'm doing a maze game, I usually click smooth. So smooth, what it does is it rounds out those corners. And then very often what you also want to do is do close. So what close means is that it finishes the loop off for you. So you'll see that it automatically, I don't know if you noticed that it automatically finished that and kind of did the math of this. Now, if you don't like a path line anywhere, you go, that's more complicated, you can click one of these and drag it so it looks a little bit different, or you can click over here and delete the point entirely, and then you can see if I want to delete one in the middle, for example. If I delete that, it'll fix, right? So you can do whatever you want, and you can add, oops, I didn't delete that one, and you can add different things in the middle. So let's show you how this looks. So this is what the path is. Now you need a path name. You can leave it at path 0 if you want, but I'm just going to call mine path fish 1, and I'm going to then close the path. That's all I need for this. Close it. Go into the fish. Now, quite often you'll do this in your create event. Now, but you don't have to, right? It could be a trigger, right? You could have something that triggers the fish to start going down that path. Maybe you reach a room, maybe you press a button, maybe you get too close, proximity detection of some kind. So what you want to do is you want to go over here and you want to search the path in the box, and you're going to get a few things. So this is the kind of the main path window. Start path, stop path, set path position along the path, so you can kind of give it a specific position, get position, set speed, and get speed. But we can actually set speed right with the start following path. So you're going to see that here. I'm going to pull in start following path. I'm going to say which path. I'm going to give it a speed, and at first I'm going to give it a speed of kind of just 3 just so we can see it. And then you can see on end you've got 4 really good options. You want to stop. Do you want to restart? Now we're in a loop, so like my path is a closed loop, so if I hit restart it just keeps going anyway. So I usually pick loop if that's really what I want. But so again, the difference in that is if you were in a path that doesn't have a closed loop, it gets to the end, it would jump back to the beginning, and then or reverse, go back the other direction. So let's just say I'm going to say loop. And relative, I'll show you what this means here in just a second. Relative false means, do you move the fish to where you drew the path, or do you move the path to where you draw the fish? That can be useful if you're taking multiple different characters. So that if you draw a path over top of a background, for example, and you want a maze to be exactly right, you can actually turn this to so that it makes sure it hits that maze exactly right. So let me show you what happens. Now, just to exaggerate what's going to happen in my room. So I've got this fish here. I'm going to put the fish right in the corner so we can really see how the location of the path is affected. So I'm going to hit play. Now, what will happen is it's going to start that loop. Now, depending on where my loop started, I can't remember exactly where it started. It's going to, you're going to see it start to move around here. So you'll notice that it started right from that particular location, okay? And it just does the path. So this is actually a cool thing. This fish is going off screen, but the user can't tell the fish is going off screen. All it knows is there's a fish coming out. If you have 4 of these kind of overlapping one another, it becomes really complicated to see what's going on. So let me show you another one. I pull in a second fish object, and we'll play again. And you will see pretty quickly that right now, if we leave it just the way it is, you're going to actually be able to pick up the pattern really quick because you're going to see that they both go at the same speed. right? So now they're both going the exact same speed, so it's easy to kind of tell what's going on with this thing. So, however, you can fix that really quickly by adding some randomization. Show me, let's not get that out of my way. So if we go back to that object, let's just add a little bit of randomization into the speed, and then that will change things especially. So let's say random up to say 3, plus 3. So now we got different speeds. And really quickly, what you'll see when this happens, that it is harder to track that these two things are on the same path. If you have this with 3 or 4 different fish, and they are they're really zooming, but there's no way that a user can, in the middle of a game, can tell that those two things are going down the same path. But of course, you could always add multiple paths or multiple fish as well. So the differences I want to talk about, this relative false. If I click that, what you're going to see is you're only going to actually see one fish, and what this means is they're actually going to see if I'm predicting this right in this version of GameMaker, that they're going at different speeds, but they jump to the same location. So the idea of what that is actually move the fish to wherever I drew the path in my window, which is not obvious, but that's how you could do that if you work with a maze game. You can have your character move to that exactly drawn path, right? Because you want the path to match the shape of the maze. So again, because they're two different speeds, they're going a little bit. It's hard to track them. Okay, so last thing I want to show you though actually is you notice that the fish were always pointed away. They're not affected. So there's something you can do that's really quick, where you can actually have the fish follow the path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called set instance rotation. So now the trick is where do you want to put this? I've actually accidentally popped this into my create task. This is not where I want this to be. I actually want it into the step event. So I can add an event called step. Step event is the event that happens over and over and over again. That was add event step. There's a begin step and end step. Don't pick that one. Just pick step, and it's called set instance rotation. And all you have to do is that. So set the angle equal to direction. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to have your fish. There you go, built-in direction variable. It's going to have your fish. So again, let me move this down so you can see. I'm in a step event, set instance rotation. If I run this, you're going to see that it is rotating, which is what we want to follow the path, which is really cool, except that I have an issue with my sprite itself. So you'll see that as it rotates, that it's going to be always swimming backwards. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never actually seen a fish swim backwards. So we want to fix that. That's actually an issue with the sprite itself, not with this rotation. So I'll show you how to fix that. First of all, I'm going to go back to that create event, turn off relative so it looks a little bit better. And the last thing I want to do is the reason my fish is going backwards is because of the direction of the sprite. So by default, GameMaker considers fish or sprites, the 0 direction is to the right, but this particular fish, you can see the 0 direction is to the left. Okay. Just gonna see if I can zoom in. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is we're going to edit this image. We're going to go image, mirror, all frames. We only have one frame, but that's good. Now it's going to go in the right direction. And the last thing you might want to do when you close this up is you might want to set your origin point to your center of your sprite. So I'm 48, 48, so 24, 24. And that will allow us to rotate. Actually, you might want to put the origin point on the nose of the fish, actually, rather than the center of the fish. But we're going to run this now. Whoops, that did not work. Let's just go middle center. Hit play. Sorry, I got another sound going on in my room, and we are just about ready to end. All right, and now you can see the fish are following this path in the direction that they want to go. All right, hope you enjoyed. Thanks, everybody.